You are now watching the Ball and Beats podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to another episode of the Ball and Beats podcast. I'm Logan. Alongside me, I got Spencer to my right, I got Andrew to my left, and we got Alan back via Zoom as well. How we all doing today, boys?
I'm good. How about you guys? What's up with y'all?
Hey, man, long time no see, Alan. Where you been, boy? Where you been? What you up to?
What are you up to, Alan?
Bro, I'm just trying to make some money, trying to find a job, a stable job.
Hey, man, as long as it's stable, that's what matters, you know. I know some people might not have a stable job after some things that happened on IG Live the other day, but I digress from that.
I think it actually made him more popular.
I think, if anything, his podcast that he has got him even more viewers.
Oh, yeah, because he did the, Unc Tells All last night?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's like, Unc gets it.
Unc gets it. He
there are some people that can get away with it, and he's one of those guys that
Shannon
can
Sharp,
get away with it.
It's not like
he's a good guy.
He didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't like Paul Pierce where he was like dancing with hookers and stuff.
It wasn't inadvertent.
He was just,
It wasn't inadvertent. We won't go into any detail. If you already know, you already know. If you don't,
find it out. It's on Twitter.
Find it out somewhere else. It ain't going to be on this
on
podcast.
X.
But I digress. Spencer and Andrew, how are you guys doing as well?
Good. Doing pretty well.
School is, it's in session, man. It's a lot.
School's in session.
And the crazy thing is that most of the work that personally I've been doing is WXUT. Most of my classes are not even getting rolling just yet. I mean, there's a couple, weeks here in between. WXUT has been a lot, but I think it's been really good work that we've been, putting together, and this is just another thing that we get to do.
Yeah, you can listen to all of our voices as well on 88.3 FM WXUT Toledo, as we do, all of us right here on this panel, sports as well. We do color and play-by-play. If you want to listen to our beautiful voices on the radio, you can do that as well.
Shout us out.
Shout out WXUT. But, I don't know about y'all. After this past weekend, I am absolutely god-awful. What a week one for the NFL season.
Oh, it was great.
Let's start off with that. Let's get into recapping week one
week
of the
one.
NFL season. First of
eventful.
all, it was very eventful, but I think we have to give it to the people that actually did something for themselves this week. Let's kick it over to our Lions fans first and break down Sunday night.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. I thought the Lions were losing because that second half, it was not good. The Lions got all the way to the end of the game and just barely got it to overtime with that field goal by Jake Bates. The defense made some stops when they needed to, and Matthew Stafford, he is just a pain in the butt to play against, and he still, time and time again, proves I think he's a top 5 quarterback in this league right now. I do.
Close.
Him mixed with Sean McVay and the weapons that they have and kind of that spread look that they really like to go to, especially with a guy like Kyron Williams, who has kind of emerged as a nice back for them. Like, he's getting the ball out within 2 to 3 seconds.
That's the thing is they had no offensive line.
Yeah, I mean,
both their starting tackles before the game even started were out. Then they lost Steve Avila. They lost Puka Nacua, and they lost their backup tackle. They were down to their third string left tackle, their second string right tackle. Their offensive line was abysmal.
Yep.
Aiden Hutchinson was in the backfield every single play. Matthew Stafford still had time to throw the ball away. He just had like 2 seconds to throw the ball. And in my opinion, he's a top 5 quarterback in this league right now because if you look at teams like Cincinnati, Joe Burrow had a terrible game against an awful Patriots defense. You look at, Patrick Mahomes had a good game. Lamar Jackson had a good game. Justin Herbert, who at one point we all thought was a top 5 quarterback, he's kind of on the decline because Jim Harbaugh runs the ball. I don't think it's crazy to put Stafford in the top 5. Now, enough about the Rams. The Lions did just enough to win this game, and it was not pretty. You can tell this team did not play in the preseason. They had no starters playing the preseason on offense. Offensive line was, so-so in the regulation. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta did nothing this entire game. And they still found out a way to win because of Jamison Williams, who had 5 catches for, I believe, 125 yards and a touchdown. And that's the hope. The hope for Lions fans everywhere is J-Mo becomes that wide receiver 2, your deep threat, your guy who just takes it to the house every play. Amon-Ra St. Brown is your short yardage situation guy he's just a dog. He's just going to get you first downs. J-Mo's your deep threat. And Sam Laporta is your tight end that you find in a crossing route or just down the middle. This team proved to me, though, that they're for real because the Rams are a damn good team, man. This defense, this young defense played phenomenal. Braden Fisk and who's the other guy?
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse. 2 rookies starting on their defensive line were in the backfield almost the entire time because the offensive line for the Lions wasn't great in regulation. And overtime was a completely different story. Overtime, the Lions just said, "Let's go to bed. Rams, you're dead. We're going down the field, scoring a touchdown. Get out of Detroit." But for regulation, this team, they were in a dogfight with the LA Rams. This was a tough game, big battle, a good first test for this team. And the most important thing is they probably should have lost, but they won. And in previous years, the Lions would have lost that game. I've seen Matt Patricia teams, Jim Caldwell teams, Jim Schwartz teams, Marinelli teams lose those kinds of games. And it just shows Dan Campbell's different. It shows this Lions team's different. They got a different culture. And I was very proud of how they played in week 1. They did not have – their offense was not good. Their defense was good at times, but has shaky at times. I mean, the Rams had some big plays. But in the end of the day, the Lions did enough to win, and that's what's important in this league. Week 1 is such a weird week. You don't know what you're going to get out of teams. You had bad teams beating good teams. Good teams being in dogfights with bad teams. You had blowouts. I mean, it's such a weird week. And you never know what week 1's going to be because new teams, new faces, new coaches, new everything from everywhere. And I think the most important thing is to go 1-0. And fortunately, the Lions were able to do that. And now we're on to Baker and Tampa Bay. So it was a really good win for the Lions, very gritty. That overtime is one of the most dominant things I've ever seen in my life. That offensive line manhandled the Rams.
And David Montgomery decided to run it down the throat.
David Montgomery, smash football. They remind me a lot of Michigan under Jim Harbaugh the past few years. Just run the ball. We know you're going to run the ball again, but you can't stop us. The Lions' offensive line, in my opinion, at the end of the day, might be the best unit in all of football. No matter position, no matter group, no matter what. Defense, any line, any secondary, anything. The Lions' offensive line, Graham Glasnow, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, and Taylor Decker. You have Pro Bowlers everywhere. Yeah. And the only dude who's not a Pro Bowler is Graham Glasnow, who had one of the best seasons of his life last year with the Lions. And I don't think it's crazy to think that. The offensive line, when they're fully healthy, can manhandle anybody, and you saw that in overtime.
Yeah, Penei Sewell is probably the best blindside tackle in football right now. And that is probably the best offensive line unit, easily, I would say.
And it's crazy to think because the Lions had one of the worst O-lines for years, and now they completely revamped it.
I honestly thought your secondary played fairly decent comparative to what it was last year.
Very young.
I thought a lot of the young pieces that came in this year, I thought Terrion Arnold stepped up.
Yep.
I thought a lot of those other pieces.
Carlton Davis had a solid game.
I forgot a lot of the pieces you got in the secondary. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, I forgot they got these guys
Davis,
in the backfield
Terrion Arnold, he had a few rough defensive or DPIs, but it's his first game. He's playing against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua at one point.
And you got to be very active.
Oh yeah, there's one of the best wide receiver cores in the league when healthy. Those two are dominant. It doesn't get easier with Tampa. Tampa has a really good receiving core. But he had a really solid game. Brian Branch is still one of my favorite players on this team because he is just such a workhorse. They moved him to safety out of the nickel last year, and he really did well. Kirby Joseph, once again, they did give up some plays, and I think it's going to be obviously an adjustment. But I was really impressed with the defense. The only gripe I have is the defensive line not getting home enough. Especially against a backup offensive line. Aiden Hutchinson had like a 47% win rate one-on-one. I mean, he was just absolutely dominant in this game. But everyone else was kind of So that's the only gripe. But, I mean, we get DJ Reader back this week. Davenport's going to be healthy, so we'll see. I was very impressed with the Lions. Week 1, you never know. But I was overall impressed. Alan, what'd you think?
I thought the team played really good. Again, the second half wasn't all that to be desired. The only problem was I wish that they would have did what they did in the first half and just carried it over. It seemed like a whole different team when we hit the second half, and I wasn't expecting them to go into overtime. I was just expecting them to lose the game. So I was starting to lose hope. But if anything has shown over last year and now this year, is that you can't really lose hope with this team because they're probably going to win now. And again, it just speaks to the culture and the players who want to play for Dan Campbell. But it's ugly, but we got the win. But I don't think moving forward, it has to be a lot more cleaner. It can't be ugly every single time.
No, yeah, I agree. And two more things that I'll add. Jared Goff didn't have a good game.
No, we did not.
Jared Goff had a very, very bad game. He made some throws that he needed to, but he had that interception that was caught by John Johnson III. It was a crazy interception. It was like caught by his legs, and then he almost had another interception that would have ended the game with, I believe, like a minute 50 left. It was just an incomplete pass. I can't remember the corner if it was Witherspoon or if it was who was their other guy? I can't remember their other corner's name. But he didn't have a good game.
Tre'Davious White?
It was either Tre'Davious White or the other one. I can't remember. But Tre'Davious White had a bad game.
He did. He got burnt.
JMO burned him with that double clutch move. But Goff didn't have a good game, and they still find a way to win. And I think that's a testament to how this team was built. And a second thing, like I said about Matthew Stafford earlier, that throw that he had with about 3 minutes left to convert the first down, and obviously they then punted, but before the 2-minute warning, they converted a 3rd and 5. Matthew Stafford wasn't even looking at his receiver. He had Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson in his face. He threw a sidearm pass that he wasn't even looking at the receiver, and he caught it for a first down. That's one of the most impressive throws I've seen in a while. And Matthew Stafford, I mean, people forgot how good he was in Detroit. He's been a lot better with the Rams. And I'm glad he won a Super Bowl, but it's time for the Lions to win theirs. So, overall, good game. You take a win, even if it's ugly, and on to Tampa Bay. So, now let's talk about your guys' teams, the Ohio teams. And these are big storylines with both of these teams. I'm going to start with the Cleveland Browns because I think that's the biggest one that we have to talk about. And Logan's putting his face. The Browns made a massive mistake with Deshaun Watson. And you can say what you want. He might go out against Jacksonville and have a great game. And I will say, the offensive line for Cleveland was awful. Awful on Sunday. They had Jedrick Wills out and they had Conklin out. So both of their tackles were out. And that doesn't help. But Dallas, every single play was just getting on this offensive line. And Deshaun Watson could not throw the ball 10. He couldn't throw the yard past the sticks. He couldn't throw 10 yards down the field.
Okay, I'll tell you a nice little tidbit. He averaged, I think, 2.8 yards per throw.
Oh, my gosh.
Per air, like in the air, travel.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, in the Browns' defense, very, very good. But, they can only do so much when they're on the field the entire game. So I'm going to give it over to Logan, like he did for me with the Lions. I want you to tell me what your biggest concern is with this team, because if I'm the Cleveland Browns and I'll give Deshaun Watson one more game. If he goes out, he has the same thing against Jacksonville, who doesn't have as good as who has a solid defensive line, but nothing like Dallas. If he goes out and averages, 3 yards per throw and all this stuff, and he has a terrible game, just take your losses, start Jameis for a game. Because Jameis is proven in the league to be a solid quarterback who throws a lot of interceptions but also makes plays. And I don't think Deshaun Watson right now, he can't make plays. He can't. Everything with Cleveland's offense looked rough on Sunday. And their defense was decent when they needed to be, but they were on the field the entire game.
I would say I can't wait for Nick Chubb to be healthy, but the way the offensive line played, he might be back to square one with that too. Honestly, there's a lot of directions I could go with this conversation because I think there's so many different things we could discuss about Deshaun Watson, let alone everything else that happened on Sunday. Really, I think the main talking point I'm going to start off with anyway is to have all that baggage that is on you as a quarterback, let alone any other position, let alone being a human being, with everything that Deshaun Watson has gone through the last 3 years. It is a massive mental toll that it takes on you, regardless if it's true or not. We're not going into whether he's guilty or not here. We're going to discuss what it takes to try and go out there and be a starting quarterback for that amount of money and the pressure that's on there. There is not a single player in the league that is under such a microscope that Deshaun Watson is under right now because of the fact of everything that he's going through off the field, and he's even in more off the field scandal right now as we speak at the same time. And leading up into this week, he also lost his dad and one of his best friends going into week 1, literally a couple days before this game. So he had a lot of other off-the-field stuff that added to that mental toll. Also trying to come back from a completely destroyed shoulder injury, his throwing arm. I think there's a lot to really look at from this game. People are going to sit here and try to go at him and bash him because of the contract, because of everything else off the field. They're going to sit here and say he's genuinely just a horrible quarterback and a horrible person. I'm going to sit here and say that, one, I don't think his shoulder's fully healthy. I don't. Mm-hmm. If you look at it, or it could also be.
He just seemed like he couldn't throw. It obviously could be a mental thing. It just seemed like he couldn't throw the ball accurately. He just seemed off.
He seems distracted. Mm-hmm. Whether it be a mental toll of the shoulder injury, whether it be everything else when it comes to his dad and his best friend, whether it comes to all the other off-the-field scandals he's had as well. I think that plays a massive role, let alone to the fact of 40 dropbacks with 22 pressures in your face. The offensive line, you didn't have Conklin for the game. You didn't have Jedrick Wills. You had 2 backup tackles out there. It was truly, from an all-around offensive perspective, an F- performance. It was. He couldn't throw the ball. He targeted Amari Cooper a lot, couldn't get him the ball. The only real person that did anything was just Jerry Jeudy on a touchdown. And even then, he still didn't have great stats. This offense was awful, truly awful in week 1. And Dallas, you got to give them credit. I mean, they have one of the best defenses in the league, too, as well. Same with Cleveland. And like you said, when Cleveland's defense is out there for 45 of 60 minutes practically, they're going to give up 33 points. You know, it's going to happen. I really don't know what the direction of this team is moving forward. I don't know if there's a clear leader in this locker room, but I think there's got to be one really quickly. I was having high hopes coming into this season. I don't know how high they are after week 1, but you know the league changes quickly. Anything can happen.
Week 1.
It is week 1.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Teams look awful week 1, and then they go on and have an amazing, end of the season. Just look at Jacksonville a few years ago. They went 1-0. They didn't win a game the rest of the season.
Right.
They won
exactly.
So week 1.
Cleveland. Let's. Cleveland's
Their
one.
defense is going to keep them in
Cleveland's
games.
defense is going to keep them in games.
Yes.
Nick Chubb, when he comes back.
Since 2004, Cleveland's only won 2 games in week 1. So it's not like they win in week 1 to begin with anyway, regardless of who they play.
And I obviously, the season's not over. It's not even close.
But that $230 million fully guaranteed right now is looking, at this moment, the worst it ever has.
The Cowboys were able to tee off, though. I mean, at some point, they had such a big lead in the way that, Cleveland plays their offensive scheme. The Cowboys knew they could get to Deshaun Watson, so every single play, they were just teeing off on him. It didn't matter if it was a run to Jerome Ford or it was him dropping back. They knew that the Browns were trying to get back in the ball game, and schematically, it was just incorrect. They were not going to be able to get back into the ball game.
Specifically with how this offense is built. They're not built to really come back.
I mean, their offensive line was out. I mean, and you talked about everything with Deshaun Watson. I mean, there was just – I think a lot of people thought because of how Cleveland ended the season last year with Joe Flacco and how much success they had in kind of that, 5-6 week period, they were hopeful, especially with how well Deshaun played against Baltimore last year when they went into Baltimore and won before he got injured. I think there was too many factors that went against them that many people didn't think. And I also think that the Cowboys are good, and most people I mean, DeMarion Overshown will be talked about a lot more this coming season, but that dude is really good. And I mean, you add his quickness and his ability to that Dallas defense, they're just good. I mean, they're a lot better. It's unfortunate because Cleveland, the fans are just ripping on them right now, but you give him 2 more wins in 2 weeks, I guarantee you the conversation's different.
Oh, the
So,
conversation
will
always
week
change
one's
because-
always
If
different.
he goes out and has a great game in Jacksonville, like I mean, I don't know if all would be forgiven for Cleveland fans, but it'd be a restaurant. Okay, he's not awful. You know, this game he played bad. And
Yeah.
yes, he had a lot going on. Obviously, with his dad as best friend, he's got everything about people's. I mean, it seems like everybody hates him except Browns fans, and even now Browns fans are hating him.
Like he literally,
And he really
like,
feels like it's him against
the
everybody.
world. It's literally him against the world, and I feel like that is such a weight. Regardless, I think people have to sit here and really think about it. Like, even if he did this or not, like it's
still a lot
such
to-
a mental toll.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen this really at the quarterback position. We've seen it at other. We've seen here and there with like Ben Roethlisberger. He's gone through this before, but he had the success already. He won a Super Bowls already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so. But with Deshaun Watson, I think that more than anything else is I think he's in his own head. I think more than he's in his own head. 13 games in 3 years to play.
That's the problem with fully guaranteed money.
Yeah.
That's-
13
you
games
take a
in a
risk.
3-year span.
You take a massive risk.
And I mean, he played well. But you got to think it's been 5 years since they got to the AFC Championship game where they blew that huge lead in Kansas City. To think that he's going to be the same player after all of that stuff in 5 years of time.
I mean, it took a whole year off,
injuries,
too.
And,
Yeah.
and it
That's
took
what
a
I'm-
whole
that's
year
what I'm
off.
saying.
I
The
mean,
whole year-
that got to him.
The suspension and then last
It's a
year.
brand new system. He
It's-
leaves he leaves the Texans, who were a pass first offense, who were a spread offense, and he goes to Cleveland, who is a run first offense
But now,
with Nick Chubb.
But now, when you have Ken Dorsey as your offensive coordinator, they kind of changed the style to try and fit Deshaun Watson's skill set more. That's
Yeah.
what this offensive system is now designed to be.
Yeah.
He looked the most uncomfortable he's ever been
Yep.
in Cleveland. So, I do think there could have been outside factors for the reason for this week, but we'll have to see a couple more weeks of this and really come back and be like, okay, something needs to change.
Yes.
But yeah, F- on the Browns report card for this week. Shout out my dad. Congrats, you're gonna get a 12-pack of beer and a steak dinner at some point. You know, you're gonna
Good job,
get
Mr. McCrory.
it was brutal. Like that house. Oh,
Hey, Mr. McCrory, I hope you're watching this. I'll see you in 5 weeks. I'm counting down the days.
all right. Can we please get off the Browns? I
All
don't want
right.
to talk
Oh,
anymore.
is it-
about
is it
this.
my turn
It's
now?
your turn to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals.
No, you're right. I am going to start off, though. I disagree with what you said earlier. You said that the Patriots' defense was not good, and they are really good. Christian Barmore, Kyle Duggar, Christian Gonzalez, Jabril Peppers, and Gerard Mayo, who's a defensive head coach anyways. I know he's new, so it's like, you know, whatever. But that defense is super good. The offense, I mean, I think, you look at why the Browns beat the Bengals, right? We talked about this yesterday. The Browns beat the Bengals because they are the polar opposite of what the Bengals are.
Yes.
The Bengals need time to be on the field to be able to figure it out. Where the Lions, right, they get a 10-point lead and then they take a quarter to figure it out after the adjustments have been made. Yeah. Whereas the Bengals need a quarter and a half to make adjustments to how the game has actually started. They script it terribly to start out. But the Bengals, when they have a team, the Patriots did exactly what the Browns do to them every single time. They take their offense off the field. All you need is 3 or 4 stops to start the game, and you take the Bengals off the field. And the Bengals are sitting in their own head. You know, you're making Joe Burrow wait. He came back from a wrist injury. Pay Jamar Chase, okay? All you 9-to-5 people that work every day, you guys sign like a salary base, right? In 3 years, if you're the best person in the area at your job, right, and you still have 2 years on your contract, wouldn't you want an upgrade? Especially with how much money the NFL makes? Pay the man. You're not going to pay T. Higgins. We all know it. Trade him. You're not going to pay T. Higgins. Who are you going to pay? You're going to pay offensive linemen that you miss on in the draft every year? You're going to pay your linebackers who yell at the other defensive players when they make big mistakes in big games? Shout out to Jermaine Pratt. But you pay your quarterback, all right? You know who he wants on the team, and Jamar Chase is that guy. It has now become week 2 of the NFL season where it has become a distraction to the team. They didn't have T. Higgins. They planned for him to be there. He didn't play. After Thursday, they said he was going to be out. Okay, well, there we go. Now number 1 wide receiver because he practiced all training camp. Okay, Jamar Chase is going to play, but he wasn't even there on Saturday through walkthroughs because he had an illness. I mean, there's so much talent that the Bengals have. They don't do anything with it correctly. Like, they could draft the best players in the league, and they have no idea how to use them correctly
Shout out
when
the
it
state of
comes
Ohio
to,
football. I said shout out the state of Ohio football in the NFL.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, the 2021 season was so great because they didn't have to pay anybody. They just didn't. I mean, you were a year and a half away from paying Joe Burrow. You still had Jesse Bates, who was still there. You had Von Bell the first time he was there. You had an O-line that was terrible, but you weren't paying anybody. Nobody was mad. Everybody was happy in the locker room. And now it's, I want a contract, and deservedly so, but pay them. If you're not going to pay them, trade them away. But you can't just not pay the guys that produce for you, because you can say that they're NFL players, but they're entertainment at the end of the day. People go and watch them. They spend their hard-earned money to watch them. Pay them. Sorry, this is just like a rant about me talking about why entertainment should get paid. But
this man's cooking with grease right
the
now.
The Bengals don't pay, and it's been a well-known thing for years and years and years.
The Bengals are a cheap
They have gone
franchise.
out and gotten free agents, right? And they've hit on a couple of them. But you're now drafting good players. You had a couple years in a row, they had Joe Mixon and Jesse Bates, right? They hit on a couple of those first and second round picks. You hit on Joe Burrow and T. Higgins in the same draft, and Logan Wilson, 1, 2, and 3 picks. Then the next year you hit on Jamar Chase, and then you hit Daxton Hill. I mean, I don't even want to talk about him. He can't tackle for anything. But the Patriots did exactly what the Bengals can't defend against, is a good run game, and Ramondre Stevenson is so good. Mm-hmm. And that offensive line is bad, but that young defense, I mean, Christian Gonzalez is going to be well known for a top 5 cornerback here in the league, probably next year. And you can debate a wall with me because there's Sauce Gardner and all these other dudes, but that dude is good. Took away Jamar Chase. I think he had 3 catches for 9 yards against him and 22 routes. That's ridiculous. And the reason why you need to pay Jamar Chase is because Joe Burrow, 3rd and I think it was 5 before we punted, before the Patriots didn't give us the ball back with 2.5 minutes left. Jamar Chase was wide open. Joe doesn't look his way because he's looking at Trent Irwin and Andre Iosivas because that's who he's played with all spring and all summer. It's maddening. As a Bengals fan, it's annoying because these dudes that need to get paid deserve it. You paid Joe Burrow. You paid our kicker. Pay Jamar Chase. If you're not going to pay T. Higgins, it is what it is. You know, the Chiefs a couple years ago were unstoppable and trade Tyreek Hill away.
Yeah.
Right? But what do? They get good players in the draft. That's what you do. If you can't do good, if you can't pay guys because of cap space, trade them away and draft better. That's just how the NFL is. Or you're going to become a team like the Bengals, who are going to become 9-8 each week, and they're going to look like the Carson Palmer Bengals after the first couple of years. That's what it's going to turn into.
It could.
It really could. And my biggest problem with the Bengals is they have great players. I wouldn't trade them. Just pay them. Yeah. The Bengals have the cap space, but Mike Brown is a cheap owner, and that's been known for a long, long time.
I'm gonna say this. This one's getting done. Jamar Chase is gonna get his money in Cincinnati.
It will, but it should have been done by week 1.
But it should have been done a while ago because it's been a distraction, and I think it affected the Bengals week 1.
It did.
With them not being able to practice with Jamar Chase holding out of all the practice until the second or last practice before the regular season started.
Yeah.
And now it's affecting them. Jamar Chase didn't look right. The offense didn't look right at all either.
And Joe
and
didn't
losing
look
Joe
right
Mixon
either.
is a big part too.
It's one thing that a lot of people didn't overlook this year is the trading of Joe Mixon because you can put Zach Moss and Chase Brown in there, but
that's not Joe. That's not
Joe
Joe
Mixon is just way better than that, and he fit that scheme of how they like to run the football. Now it's a lot of finesse, and I don't want to get into that, but
Yeah, the offensive
they
style.
tag-
just
Jamar
doesn't
Chase,
fit.
Jamar Chase is different from T. Higgins, right? Because T. Higgins is good, but Jamar Chase is
elite.
The
He's elite.
upper echelon. He is the top 5 guy. I mean, you can debate with it.
I'd
Oh,
say
there are
top
f-
3.
there
He's
are
he's
4
100% top 5.
But he is that guy. If you're gonna keep, and I don't want to trade T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. He has made some of the biggest plays for the Bengals the past 3 years. They don't do what they do the last several years without him.
That Vikings game last year,
don't.
that catch that he had
Oh, I
against the
mean-
Vikings across the sideline to reach over and get
Yeah.
the touchdown, that was insane.
You look at, if you want to, go back and look at both AFC Championship games and tell me they even are in those games without T. Higgins. He's the best wide
No.
receiver on the field, even with Jamar Chase out there. He just rises to that occasion, and I think the Bengals are going through a lot of different changes, and it's tough because people are like, oh, Joe Burrow got to do training camp and all this and that. He was still hurt last year. He was still hurt. It's like, it takes a toll on your whole team. He's just not right yet.
No.
And it's going to take some time, and there's just this big, overlay of oh my God, we're going to suck again. It's like, just relax, okay? Just get the deals done that you need to get done, and let's move. And that's how I feel about the Bengals. You got a tough team in Kansas City this week, but with our guy 9 out there, I believe in it.
Your guy 9 out there, I would
Burrowhead.
say believe in him, but also at the same time, got to make sure he stays upright. And for me,
They're doing a better job at that, though. They're doing a better job. Once they get healthy, Amarius Mims looked great in camp. If he can get healthy, I don't know if he still plays because you signed Trent Brown on that right side to play this year, and they didn't look bad. It was just Joe Burrow got the ball out very quickly this past week. 3-4 yards down the field, he was looking.
Alan, what do you think of the Browns and the Bengals right now?
I think that the Browns, I think they'll be okay. They just need to really figure it out. If Deshaun Watson's not your quarterback, then you go with JTG or Jameis Winston. Almost forgot he was there, but that's who you have to go with. And as for the Bengals, just really, you have to pay your players. I mean, you've seen Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has done almost 3 pay cuts now just so they can play players and draft and keep the cap space where it's at. So I think both teams will be fine. It's just that they need to invest in their future. And I think the Browns' future needs to be without Deshaun Watson. I really do. And T. Higgins is not going to be not Cleveland, but Cincinnati Bengal in the next few years.
I wouldn't mind T. Higgins in Cleveland as a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver
How many
3.
guys do you guys need to trade for to get a good wide receiver, dude?
Well,
Was this
Amari
the
Cooper.
third-
Amari
would
Cooper.
that be the third
Amari
one?
Cooper's actually the one that's
Oh,
been a hit,
Amari is incredible,
Yeah.
but I mean, you trade for Jerry Jeudy.
You pay him you pay him this money.
I think what
just
you
draft
really
a wide
need-
receiver that's good.
I say
How hard
this:
is
we
it?
tank for Quinn Ewers. That's what we do.
Oh my god.
But anyway, I digress off the Cleveland Browns
I
quarterback
can't wait for
situation.
the
He
Browns
wants
to
the
have
next Joe Burrow.
to have a
He does.
$73 million
wants the
year
next
backup.
Joe
I'm not
Burrow.
going to sit here and act like I don't.
Is
because
Quinn Ewers not the next Joe though? In a way, I mean,
How about we get into
it's
that
a little
conver-
different though
Oh, yeah.
because Quinn was like this big.
We'll get into that
recruit.
conversation maybe a little bit when we start going to college football. However, I do have one more topic before we move on to college football. Who was one team you all saw from this past week in week 1 for the NFL that you watch and you're like, they surprised the hell out of me. I was not expecting this, either in a good way or a bad way. You choose. But I'm gonna start. I'm going to start with the New Orleans Saints because regardless of them playing Carolina, I was expecting Carolina to have a little bit of a bounce back this year. I was expecting Bryce Young to finally kind of look like an NFL quarterback. I mean, I know he's very undersized comparative to the position, but I was not expecting New Orleans to just go out the gate and completely obliterate Carolina and just look 10 times better. Derek Carr actually statistically was one of the better quarterbacks in week 1. And to be fair, quarterbacks across the board was maybe one of the worst weeks for quarterbacks and really since the 2000s even started. But New Orleans as a whole, like I watched that and I'm like, coming into this year, I thought Dennis Allen was the coach. I was expecting to be on the hot seat the quickest because, I mean, Derek Carr, we know Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr, he has like top 7 potential in his quarterback play, but he sometimes plays like a top 28 quarterback. So, That's the thing with Derek
That's
Carr.
a really
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
description of him. I think them getting Chase Young was pretty underrated too.
It was.
Yes.
I think
I
Chase.
think that went
yeah.
under the radar for a lot of people.
Well, I think it's because of just the fact
Because
of.
Chase Young and Cam Jordan's a pretty good defensive
Yeah.
end duo.
oh yeah,
I think
oh, yeah.
talk about a guy who's probably the most slept on defensive player in the league
Cameron
is
Jordan.
Cameron Jordan. He's probably a top 3, top 5 defensive end in the league.
Just never gets talked about.
It's because he's on the New Orleans Saints and they haven't been good since Drew Brees. But
It'll be interesting to see if Spencer Rattler gets if their season kind of like starts to
wane away.
I remember
after
when
this
he was
week.
a projected.
let's say
number
they
one
get to
overall
like
pick.
week 14 or whatever, and they only have like 4 or 5 wins.
We're gonna
know,
learn a lot about the
I'm
Saints
gonna say-
with this game this weekend.
Yeah.
with
Yes,
we are.
at Dallas.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn a lot from this team.
I know it's a little off topic, but Tom Brady has that game. What did you guys think of his? Did you guys? I mean,
He sounded like he's
It was his
never
first
broadcast.
game.
He sounded like it's his first game.
It sounded like his first game.
He stated the obvious multiple times, and he had a lot of silent pauses.
yeah.
But
Kind of
actually, why am I saying this? He's making a ton of money, and this is his first game. He should be a lot better with all this money.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
making.
Tom, you were god awful. Tony Romo
Bring
sounds
back
10
Greg
times better than
Olsen.
you. Bring back Greg Olsen as the best
I did
Fox
like
commentator.
Greg Olsen was awesome.
Greg
actually-
Olsen
Him and
was
Kevin
really
Burkhardt,
good.
they were awesome.
Yeah.
They were a great duo. So I'll give you a good and a bad. Good, a team that I did not think of much of going into the season, because of all the drama that was going on. But they surprised the hell out of me with their performance on Sunday. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, they paid Dak Prescott, who's now the highest paid NFL player in the history of the league, $60 million, because that's Jerry Jones for you.
I thought they didn't have that
But
money.
man, this team just impressed me because they made the Cleveland defense was out there the whole time. This offense was very, very good. Ezekiel Elliott actually looked solid. And
We're known to do that
CeeDee
sometimes.
Lamb did his thing, Brandon Cooks, but Dak was actually efficient when he needed to be as well.
He looked good.
And this defense with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons and Deron Bland, I mean, they looked the part. The Cowboys look like they haven't missed a step. And I know this isn't the playoffs. This isn't that. Obviously they're going to lose in the wild card round like
exactly.
they always do.
Well, exactly, because
But-
Dak's doing the part he always does. Top
but-
3 regular season quarterback.
But for seriously, they looked really good. I mean, a lot of us here, at least me, I didn't think the Cowboys were going to win their division. I didn't think the Cowboys at one point were going to make the playoffs. Yeah, no, that changed. I think Dallas is now the favorite. Philly looked good, but Dallas looked better. A team that really disappointed me, it's got to be the Falcons. Atlanta lost an awful game at home to
Underrated one.
Pittsburgh that they could not lose. Pittsburgh did not score a single touchdown, and Chris Boswell won MVP in all Pittsburgh. And I know Kevin back there is happy as all can be because the Steelers are 1-0.
That's how
Shout
they
out
win.
1-0 club. But I don't understand. Kirk Cousins looked bad. Kirk looked bad. This offensive line looked bad. Drake London looked bad. Bijan Robinson looked bad.
Yes.
The defense in general looked solid, but Pittsburgh has such a piss-poor offense that it doesn't matter.
Their offense was piss poor, but you know who looked the most comfortable he has in the NFL since he started? Justin Fields. Fields
Yeah.
himself actually had a pretty good game.
Fields looked solid. I mean, he didn't really throw the ball too much, but
he went 17 to 23 throwing the ball. Like statistically for Justin Fields.
Yeah, but he didn't.
I'm
it
just
was, it was
he
more
looked,
Boswell than anything.
It was more Boswell than anything, but he looked comfortable.
That's how the Steelers win, though. I mean, if you can get anything from Justin Fields,
That's
you're
the most
impressive, but
Steelers win ever.
That's
It's
how the
just
Steelers
field
win.
goals.
Yeah.
But no, for
Iowa
Atlanta,
of
Kirk Cousins
NFL.
looked rough. Kyle Pitts finally caught a touchdown for once.
I thought but just the fact that he caught a ball was actually really
Yeah,
impressive.
but Drake London looked rough. Bijan Robinson looked rough. I mean, Atlanta,
Well, it
all
was
this
targeted, actually.
all
I
this
should've said
hype
that.
going into the season, and to lose at home week 1 against a Pittsburgh team who has a good defense but a bad offense. Atlanta's got a lot ways to go because they have Monday night at Philly, and then they got Kansas City at home. They start out 0-3. This Falcons team might be staring down
Michael Penix Jr.
Michael Penix Jr.
already.
That's my
even
guy.
with already
That's my
paying
guy.
Kirk Cousins $40 million. But yeah, it's got to be Atlanta. They looked rough, man.
I got to go with the Chargers. I got to go with the Chargers, and I'll tell you why. Because you look at how that Michigan team kind of took over things.
How about J.K.
the
Dobbins?
last couple years?
JK all day.
The Chargers are like the Michigan team, but in the NFL now. They have J.K. Dobbins, Gus the Bus Edwards, and they have Justin Herbert, who somehow is always forgotten because their team has no postseason success with him being their starting quarterback just yet. But he is really, really good. They did nothing in the first half. They did nothing. And I know it was against the Raiders, but Joe Alt did not allow Max Crosby, who is one of the best edge rushers in the league, do anything all game, while you have Rashawn Slater on the opposite side. This team, when they figure it out defensively and offensively, could be tough to beat. Jim Harbaugh, say what you want about him. You can't say anything now because he's not in the NCAA, boo-hoo. But go blue. But this Chargers team is interesting because not like they can win the Super Bowl, but they can maybe pose a threat for a tough game. Whatever. But they can pose a threat in a tough
Thank
game.
you, Quinn.
And I think the Chargers are an interesting team because you put a team like Kansas City against them, and it's like, okay, now the Chargers actually have a shot. Where it felt like the last couple of years they've been a little outmanned with all the injuries and stuff like that, and their wide receiver core is definitely not as good as maybe you'd want it to be. But they are gonna figure it out, in my opinion, and I think the Chargers are an interesting team to come into play. While on the other side, I think Baltimore and Kansas City looked the best in the AFC. That game was phenomenal, and they are the two best teams in the AFC, even with the Texans.
Isaiah likely, he might have caught that. He likely caught that catch. Too bad his toe was out of bounds. But
KD.
I got to say real quick, it was so weird seeing J.K. Dobbins hug Jim Harbaugh. It felt like a knife to my heart.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though. This actually might be the
But it's
best.
good for J.K. because
yeah.
in Baltimore, he was very good when he was healthy. He just, every game, every first game of the season, something happened where he was out for the rest of the year. Whether it was ACL, MCL,
Yep.
and finally he's healthy, and he looks good. And good for J.K.
Well, and this, when you have a head coach who you played against multiple times in your college career as now your head coach, who watched you play in college, who knows how good you can be.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think this might be the best possible situation for J.K. Dobbins for his NFL career.
He's still young. He's only
because
25.
Jim Harbaugh obviously likes J.K., even though, he may have ran all over Michigan back in those days.
JK all day.
J.K. all day. This honestly, I think will be a great year for J.K. Dobbins with Jim Harbaugh. I think he's found his actual home in the NFL. Alan, your surprise team, good or bad, or one for each if you're feeling like it.
For my good and bad, I had to do the same team. It's the Bears. I actually watched the game because I wanted to see what Caleb Williams could do. And their offense, the bad is their offense. It was abysmal.
Who wouldn't have guessed that in their history?
Go Bears.
That offense, it was such
they won.
a mess. And they won, yeah.
They won.
Of the good, which was their defense. Their defense was the best part of the team.
No, Will Levis was the best part of the Bears.
Oh, yeah, that picture.
Yeah, that is
Bro
true.
literally gave them the win.
He probably looked like what Shannon
That
Sharp
is
did
true.
on the camera that wasn't there. But anyway, those two are probably waking up to the same kind of news today as we speak. But anyway, Alan, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little carried away here.
No, you're good. But Caleb Williams being the number one draft pick, he's gonna have eyes on him, so you're expecting him to do good things, but it just never gelled, and it was like this was the number one draft pick, Caleb Williams. My goodness, you guys should have just kept Fields at this point, but I'm sure he'll get better. But that defense was the best part of that team.
I'm sure he won't because he plays Houston next.
Yeah, I'll say this. He looked.
Wow.
He looked like a rookie.
Looked like a rookie, as you know.
And the Bears O-line didn't do him much favors either. He got pressured a lot, and Caleb Williams threw at a lot of his teammates' helmets. That's the
Well,
funny
I
part.
mean,
the
Like
one
every 5 throws, you saw a football bounce off a helmet.
Well, the one thing is that everybody. I mean, yeah, he played well against the Bengals, but it was the third string defense in the
Yeah.
preseason, and he was like
Preseason doesn't
11 for
matter.
24. Like people were blowing up about it, and like he is gifted, all right, and
Yeah.
he is a good player, and he will be a good player. But like it was so overblown.
He
and it was
learned
just,
that he learned the
oh
NFL.
my goodness, it was like this, like the just dumbest thing I've seen.
Yeah, he learned that he wasn't throwing to Washington
Yeah.
State DBs.
Well, see,
Yeah,
here's
true.
right, exactly. Here's the thing, though. I feel like a lot of people give Caleb Williams a lot of hate. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't myself. However, if you do actually listen to him speak, he
He's
is
just
pretty.
himself.
he
He
did
is
take
himself, and
accountability.
He's himself, and he's humble, and he does take
He
accountability.
took accountability.
Unlike-
He said, "I had a bad game, but I'm thankful that we just are 1-0 and we're on to next week. I will be better."
Yeah.
And I give him credit for that.
Caleb, I think a lot of people give the flack for Caleb Williams because of his personality. You know, it is different for your typical quarterback. You know, but regardless, I mean, he still is accountable and he still has that leadership quality. You know, I'm not going to throw any names under the bus, Kyler Murray, but you know, I feel like Caleb Williams truly does have, you know, that capability to be a really good quarterback in the league. It's his first game. You know, it's his first game against a Titans defense that, yeah, it is a retirement home, but still has pretty elite pieces. The Titans just really shot themselves in the foot, and the whole reason why they lost that game. But
Kyler Murray, if you disrespect Marvin Harrison Jr., I will never forgive you. If
He
you
already did.
If
He-
you
he
ruin,
dis-
no, sorry. If you ruin this guy, I will never forgive you again.
yeah, no, definitely not. Kyler Murray, you congrats on being the greatest high school quarterback of all time. That's all you're actually going to ever be known for, besides your Heisman Trophy.
But those Cardinals uniforms are nice. I know that's like so out of the blue, but like those white
They
uniforms
played. They
are
played the Bills
crispy.
tough. They played Buffalo.
They
pretty
should have
tough.
won that game.
They should have won, but
They should
it's
have won that game.
Arizona. So
Imagine if he would have threw Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball more than 3 targets. Oh, they might have won that game.
And he was like
Crazy
wide
what
open on that
happens-
one play. They'll get better. I mean, they'll get better. But
it's week 1.
yeah.
It is
At
week
the end
one.
of the day, it's week 1.
It is week 1, and the NFL season can always change drastically.
Oh yeah.
I
Throughout
feel like
the
we
year.
should move to college football.
We should
now,
move
'cause
to
we've been-
college football. We've been on NFL for quite some time. Let's go over to college football. Week 2 recap. Oh, where do we really want to start this week? I don't know. Do we go here already? Do we go here already? No, actually, I say we go to something else first. Shout out Northern Illinois in the MAC, baby.
Let's go.
How about that?
Number 25 in the land.
How about Northern Illinois beating the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame just a week after looking really impressive in Kyle Field and A&M?
Yikes! Marcus Freeman.
hold on,
Another year of losing to a
he's-
Marshall last year, NIU this year.
Can we just say this? Why does Notre Dame always lose to the one team on their schedule that's like the guaranteed victory? You ever notice that?
You know, Toledo should play Notre Dame more because they almost beat him the last time, and they probably beat him, this year. So.
With this team only. Yeah, it wouldn't be with the actual, wouldn't be with the Quan Finn. It wouldn't be with the Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
It would be with this team and Tucker Gleason and company. And honestly, that'd still be all right.
Braden
Anyway.
Hall's pick 6.
Andrew, your thoughts?
On Notre Dame, Northern Illinois. I don't know. I mean, it's week 2.
It's
Yeah,
good to
they
see a
beat them,
MAC
but
team ranked.
and maybe they put them at 25 just because you beat the number 5 team in the nation. Like, how do you leave them out of the top 25 at that point? But Marcus Freeman, it's the way college football is right now. And I know I talked about this, last night, but there are like the 5-6 string guys on those big teams like Georgia and Alabama and all them, like they leave because they ain't getting no play time, and they'll go to these MAC teams and they'll play well. Or you're like Northern Illinois, and Coach Hammock has been waiting to build this program. PJ Fleck, who is Minnesota's coach, played with Coach Hammock at Northern Illinois, and PJ Fleck was like, this is what Northern Illinois is about, baby. This is what we've been trying to build for 20 plus years.
NIU's been real quick. NIU's been, in my opinion, the class of the MAC for a few decades. It seems like every other year they win the MAC or
They're close, yeah.
or they're close. In 2013, they made a New Year's Six bowl.
They made the
game.
Orange Bowl. They
Yeah.
played Florida State.
Yeah. So, and it's good. It's just good.
Shout out
it's
Jordan
good
Lynch.
to see a MAC.
Shout out Jordan Lynch, man. He
Heisman
was,
finalist, by the way, that year. I don't know if y'all remember that. He was there for the
Yeah.
ceremony.
NIU,
Yeah, that
NIU
was-
was something, but it's good for the MAC.
Yeah.
It's good to see a MAC team ranked because you never see it.
You don't see
You
it
don't
often.
see it as much as anymore.
But
MAC is like, I mean, you put the tiers of
The MAC might be at the bottom of the group
MAC
of
in
five.
the bottom tier.
might be the worst of the bunch, but I
I'd
mean,
put Conference USA below us now because of the lack of depth that's been taken away from
They
that
have
conference.
Liberty.
Now with a lot of FCS programs, it's Liberty. They play only Conference USA, and then look at that schedule. They have the weakest schedule in college football. You can say what you want about Liberty. They play absolutely nobody, literally nobody. A bunch of FCS schools and even lower tier group of 5 schools than even some of these MAC schools. So at the end of the day, people can say what they want about Liberty. It's not liberty and justice for all down there in Lynchburg. So.
Good
But
for,
anyway.
good for Ethan Hampton and company.
yeah, I mean, good win for Northern Illinois, but they have a tough schedule still. They have Mississippi State as well on there, and then they go Mississippi State, and then I don't remember if it's
UMass.
UMass.
Toledo
Yeah,
BG.
shout out
No,
Tyson
it's
Pumachan,
NC
baby.
State.
Shout out Jalen
UMass,
John,
and then
too.
they have BG,
NC State.
and then
NC State.
Toledo.
NC State, that's what it is.
NC State, my apologies. So NC State, then they have UMass, BG, then UT. I mean, that's like a 4-game schedule right there where they're going to be battle tested
Every game.
And I'll tell you this.
every single game.
Toledo,
UMass is no
it's
schlump.
always a battle when Toledo goes to DeKalb. Toledo,
Yes.
it's always a tough game. And I hope NIU's ranked then because I think it'd be awesome if Toledo could go there and get a ranked win.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
It'd be cool.
We go there undefeated and get a little nice top 25
Hey,
win.
An all-ranked MAC. We should get game day there.
We should get
Game day in
there.
DeKalb. Toledo versus NIU.
Yeah,
We're going to
that
make
would-
this happen,
We're
folks.
going to get
We
Kirk
are gonna make
Herbstreit.
this happen.
We're going to get it.
We're going to get Kirk Herbstreit on the Ball and Beats podcast that week, too.
Toledo's going to go. They're going to go beat Mississippi State, and they're going to get ranked.
I would
be
say
amazing.
there's a better opportunity for WXUT to be
Ooh.
there.
Ooh, yeah,
Watch
there
out
would
for
be.
that.
Watch out for that for sure.
We'll see what happens.
Mentioned a team on that schedule for Northern Illinois. How about Tennessee and the Volunteers? Yet again, my Tennessee Volunteers playing some elite
good.
football. Nico Iamaleva.
Lama Leva. That
Not another name for Spencer to make fun of. Shout out DJ Ukulele
DJ
and that Florida
Ukulele
State
and
Seminole
the
team.
garbage program known as Florida State.
We're not going to talk about my playoff prediction. Anyway, back on Tennessee.
VT.
I think this team actually looks better than that team that beat Alabama a couple years ago.
Tennessee
with
can
Hendon
make the
Hooker.
playoffs. 100%.
They could be like that Missouri Ole Miss
100%.
realm in the SEC.
Tennessee is looking very, very, very good.
James Pierce Jr.
Top 5 pick.
Top
He's
5
good.
pick.
He's good. He not only can rush the passer, but he's a good run stopper as well, which is like super dangerous when you're talking about that type of guy. Like Aiden Hutchinson is a good pass rusher, but he can stop the run too, and that's why he was so important for Michigan back in the day. For Tennessee, you're looking for your quarterback to save you. I mean, that's what every program is looking for. And if you don't have 20 NFL guys, you need the quarterback, and Nico is that guy. Nico is that guy, and I think they're going to be tough for any SEC team, and it kind of just it brings in another layer for the SEC in what
The
know,
SEC
how that
is
shapes
so-
up,
so
and it shows how bad the
so
ACC is as well, because NC State was supposed to be the number 2 team in the ACC, really, because you're looking Florida State. Obviously, Miami is good, but at the beginning of the season, Miami was a question mark. Now it's more of a statement. But I think NC State and Clemson were the 2 top teams, and now it's like Miami is pretty much just the only team in the ACC that kind of feels like, you have Georgia Tech, but
That's right, Alan.
Florida State's bad.
Now, the Yellow Jackets kind of blew a fuse against the fighting Kyle McCords of Syracuse University.
How about him, man? He's going to win the Heisman
You
this year.
know,
I got
I don't understand, but at the same time I do. It's Syracuse. He plays in a dome, and he's playing
not this.
against B- level talent.
Let's be respectful here. The standard at the Ohio State University is just so high compared to
A+.
it's literally A+. If it's not A+, then you're
down.
out. And I feel like for Kyle McCord and being at Syracuse, you don't have the lights on you all the time. It's going to allow him more freedom to feel free, I guess.
Yeah.
At Ohio State, there's just so much pressure at the position. Some people can take it, some people can't.
You know what I hope? You know what I hope? I hope Syracuse makes the playoffs, and I hope Ohio State gets to play them.
We're going to lose. That would be such an Ohio State
Kyle
thing.
McCord
We
puts
would
up
lose.
430
Kyle McCord's gonna
yards
plant
and
the
4
S at Ohio
touchdowns.
Stadium. It's gonna be the 11-6 matchup.
He's like
Syracuse
a
is
top
gonna,
5 pick this year.
Yeah, they're gonna.
He is the one that climbs draft boards.
He is
this
the
year.
next Joe
So
Burrow.
are we
like-
gonna get to claim him like we claim Joe Burrow?
No,
I
I
say
will
yes.
not allow it. I will
say
not
yes.
allow it.
We're gonna claim
Why don't we talk
everybody.
about the Wolverines and what happened on Saturday?
Let's get
around
into
noon?
that, shall we? As we have 2 Michigan fans here. Yeah, we didn't forget about that.
Yeah,
So Davis Warren, not J.J. McCarthy.
Davis
I'll give you the rundown.
they don't have Connor
of what
Stallions
happened.
anymore. That's what's happened
That's
here with
true.
this team.
Yeah, okay. Like 10 minutes last night, you told me about how that is not a real thing, but I don't want to talk to you about that right now. Davis Warren is not the guy, but I mean that'll happen. I mean, we can talk about all the people that they're missing and all the controversy that happened, but nobody wants to bring that up. They just want to talk about how Texas came in and kicked their teeth in. So let's talk about it just in that type of light. Texas is really good.
Elite.
They are a top 3 team. There's
2.
no way around it. Yeah, you can say 2, but I mean,
I think it's Georgia versus Texas at DKR is going to feed families.
it
might
is the
be-
best.
It's
game
going to
of
be
the
absolute
season.
cinema.
I might say this. I might go out on a limb and say that might be game of the decade
That might be
for
cinema.
regular season.
That's going to be awesome.
I don't know because you get a good Ohio State Michigan game, the Tennessee Alabama game a couple years ago, the Ohio State Georgia game on New Year's was pretty incredible.
I think this will turn into one of the new rivalries, Georgia versus Texas.
Oh, absolutely, it's going to. And Steve Sarkisian is doing a great job with that program
Yes.
and where it is going. But you only go so far with your quarterback, and Quinn Ewers is doing a great job. And I think what he has done with Arch Manning being right behind him is second to none. Because you're thinking 2 years ago, how do you not start a Manning at quarterback? And now he's in his second year, and there's no doubt it's Quinn Ewers. He's the guy. Even with C.J. Baxter out, that offensive line is moving people, and it doesn't matter who you put back there at running back because they're going to get 5 yards on a 4-yard designed run. They're going to get 8 yards on a 6-yard designed run. And, early and often, Michigan needed to get off the field, but Quinn Ewers would extend the play with his legs on 3rd down, and now you're back into 1st down. And that's Quinn Ewers in that Texas team just won the game in 2 drives in a row. Davis Warren gets a tip interception, and then Texas scores. The very next drive, Colson Loveland gets it on a tight end delayed, and he gets it and he fumbles it right before halftime. Texas scores again. The game was over at that point. It doesn't matter what Davis Warren was going to do, even though he looked good on their last drive that they scored on. Texas is very good, and Michigan is still learning. You can deep dive into why they're still learning, but it's 18 players that they're replacing. Horn's Don, but,
Dan
Don.
from Pittsburgh.
I think, hold on, they should change Michigan's nickname from Michigan Wolverines to the Michigan Stallions. A horse is the nice logo, right? Wouldn't it be? That'd be a pretty good logo
that
for
would be
Michigan.
great. I heard one of their old analysts as a high school football coach now. He lost, what was it, 63-0?
Something like that. It was
Something
like
like
60
that.
to nothing. Yeah, out there at Detroit Mumford High School.
You hate to air it, Alan. What do you think about these? The analyst coach who's losing in high school games and Michigan's overall program as a whole.
I don't really mind that Connor Stallions is losing at a high school level. I mean, he's a high school football coach, and clearly you can see why he wasn't a coach in college. But
Who's that?
I
I heard
digress.
Jim Harbaugh say he doesn't know who that is.
Exactly. You
And he got a
can't tell
game
by
ball.
watching his football games. But this Michigan team, they're not bad. It's just you're going against Texas, and Texas is just that good. But they're still, to me, I feel like they're still trying to figure out who the quarterback is. Now, me personally, I like Orgy better. I think him being a dual threat, running the ball and throwing it would be a lot better. But, they're not going to go with him. And I think he should be the starter.
I think you guys should start James
It shouldn't
Davis.
be Alex Orgy because there's the difference between being a good athlete and a good thrower of the football. Alex Orgy would be the starter if he could throw the football correctly. That's just what it is. Davis Warren isn't your guy, but
Michigan should have gone to the transfer portal.
no, they should burn Jaden Davis's red shirt and figure out if he
Yep,
can be the
I
guy the
agree.
next couple years.
Yeah.
Who cares if they lose?
I
They're going to
agree.
lose anyway, so you might as well throw a guy out there and get him some experience.
Genuinely, before I see veins popping out of necks over here. I will say this. I mean, yes, last year was legitimate. We can sit here and say that. They proved it after everything went on. I think it's legitimate. Even though we'll continuously crack jokes always to see these veins keep popping. Jaden Davis, yeah, he should be the starter for Michigan. I feel like he's the most elite talent. I mean, we're talking top 3 quarterback in this recruiting class. He should be. I mean, he is the long-term answer for Michigan, and it's probably not. It's not happening this year. Let's be honest here, but
they will start Davis Warren.
And the thing is, we can sit here and talk about it. Michigan, they lost so much from the last couple years. I mean, all that talent is practically out the window, with the exception of Donovan Edwards from the last couple years. And even then, Donovan Edwards hasn't been the best back. He's the third best back on this team, yet he's on the cover of this video game. But
Donovan Edwards isn't that, though. Like, people think that Donovan Edwards is a Blake Corum type back.
He's not.
He's not. That is Khalil Mullings of this team. Donovan Edwards is you get 6 carries for 78 yards and you pop one for 35. Whereas Khalil Mullings is your 14 carries for 58 yards type back. Like, people are expecting Donovan Edwards to be great. Now, I think he should be used in more of a screen type offense, but if they're not going to do that, I mean, I think he's not I don't think he's not being used properly, but he's being misconstrued by fans of what he actually is good at.
Yes, I agree there. You know, I mean, your best offensive piece is Colston Loveland.
Yes.
He is the best offensive piece for this roster. Davis Warren, yeah, he's basically J.J. McCarthy if he was actually just Shea Patterson. So,
with a mix of John O'Corn.
With a mix of John O'Corn at the end of it.
With a mix of John O'Corn and a little Wilton Spate.
The Wilton Spate magic.
So basically a typical Michigan quarterback is what I'm hearing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But, yeah, I think Alex Orji, he's Shannon Sharp approved, so he might as well be the starter. But don't even start with that. But yeah, no, seriously though, Michigan. It's going to be fine.
Michigan's going to be fine. They're still going to win 9 games.
Yes.
End of story.
Yeah.
They are going to be on the outside shot of making the playoffs. They might make it in as the 11th seed. They might not, but they will be on the outside.
You got to be now. You have to be either Oregon or Ohio State.
Or
if you want to
get in. You have to beat USC.
Yes.
USC is going to be tough.
USC, that's going to be that's going to be a game that really decides what Michigan is. If they beat USC,
those two brands of football.
I think you have to beat 2 of those 3. I mean, because out of the 4 games, USC and all of them, you had to win at least 1, maybe 2 of them. And I thought maybe if you get the win against Texas, all is forgiven, being at Oregon, being at Ohio State. But
I think Michigan.
They're in a tough spot right now. They're in a really tough spot right now, and they're under a super big microscope. Now, the one thing I will say is Sharon Moore gets paid.
He did get
finally
paid.
got his contract.
And congratulations to him. That kind of now maybe takes the pressure off of him, and now let's just think about football.
Yep.
Because a report came out, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, that was like they couldn't get one done, and that was kind of circulating that it was like becoming a distraction. Mm-hmm. But thankfully they get it taken care of, and good on Michigan and all of them getting that done, even with the loss against Texas. They said, you know what, okay, you lose to him, but we still believe in you.
Right.
I agree.
But he better not become Coach Howard. You better not do that to me. Become the Michigan basketball program. Don't do it to me.
Hey, Jawan's out of there now.
Please,
so.
no.
I like Jawan and I like Dusty coming in, but
I actually am a
don't
big
do
fan
it
of
to
Dusty.
me, man.
I'm a big fan of
he's
Dusty.
He's awesome
Dusty
at
May
Florida
is
Atlantic.
I think Dusty May is going to. I think they're going to make the tournament this year.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
I think because at a program like Michigan, big basketball program, Dusty May is going to turn that around because he brought a bunch of guys from FAU that I really like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I say we get into one more game before we get into this week's picks. I think we have to. It is a very long episode. I feel like Kevin might be ready to kick us out the studio here any minute. But I think we need to talk a little bit about our preseason national champions in the Oregon Ducks.
Still, they're 2-0, or they won, but yeah, this team's offensive line and defensive line
Atrocious.
they are terrible. Oregon only won this game because of their special teams. If they didn't run back a punt, game's over.
Yeah.
It was a punt and a kick. I mean, the game would have been over. And give credit to Boise State. Genty is such a good running back. He'd start at any other place in any college. Ashton Genty might be the best running back in all college
He might
football.
he should be pretty high, if not atop everybody's Heisman board right now after the first 2 weeks.
Good.
Statistically.
And he showed it. Like, he's Boise State's offense. And give credit to Boise. They played tough, but, man, Oregon's got a lot of stuff to figure out. They just don't look right. Dylan Gabriel looks decent. He's not taking that step that we all thought he would. Their receivers with Tez Johnson are very good, but I don't know. Oregon just doesn't look right. Something seems off.
You know what it is?
And their defense isn't very good either.
It's because they left the Pac-12, and the Pac-12's coming back, baby. That's what it is. Shout out Boise State, a future Pac-12 school there.
Pac-6.
The six-pack.
Six-pack.
It's the six-pack. Yeah. But for real, though, Oregon, the offense is elite. It's elite. The weapons are elite. The defense, the secondary, I also think is pretty elite. They had a lot of transfers as well, and they are really still trying to gel, I think, as a program. But Dylan Gabriel's looked the part, easily looked the part. It's just this offensive line and the defensive line still looks like a Pac-12 offensive line and defensive line when you compare it against the Big Ten.
Yep.
And I think that could be a downfall of this team this year. But you got to see how it gels in a couple weeks because I feel like that's something that can improve.
They got the Civil War this week, so we'll see how that goes.
We will see how that goes for sure, but I got to give the credit.
Give Dylan Gabriel, I'll say he has been good, but he hasn't taken that Heisman level jump I thought he would.
I think he would, but everyone's distracted.
I think he will. I think Boise State is better than I think people expected.
They are.
They're
might make
the
playoffs at that 12 seed.
Oh, absolutely.
They might
And
make it without that.
I think the one thing that is that they have to get over as well is you're still winning games. So like let's all just relax, not saying that, let's press the panic button on them just yet, but Oregon's going to find it. It's just when they're going to find it.
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks in a row now, they've either started slow or their defense hasn't gotten off the field in the correct times or their offense hasn't executed in the right places on the field. And it's put them in weird positions. Against Idaho, it was like, why are we in this ball game? Dylan Gabriel has 500 yards. Mm-hmm. And then the second game, it was like, why is Ashton Genty running everywhere right now?
Yeah.
And why are we down in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes left? Yes, their special teams made big plays, but special teams is a part of the game. They win the game because of it. The Toledo Rockets don't win their game last week if their Jacquez Stewart doesn't make plays in the special teams. Oregon is going to find it, but you now know that your special teams is a good part of your game.
Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart.
And both of those are electric players. And Dylan Gabriel, I think, is playing fine. He's got to play better if you're going to beat some of these good teams. But that defensive line, even the offensive line, I think they'll gel at some point. But that defensive line really needs to get going because, like you said, the Big Ten is different when it comes to play style.
Yes. Yeah. I just got to end it off before we get into our picks here. Just why did we ever just take all these teams from the Mountain West and make 6 teams in the Pac-12? Why don't we just name the Mountain West the Pac-12 or just make Pac-12 Mountain West and add Oregon State and Washington State and make it easy on everybody?
Why don't we just have Cal and Stanford rejoin the Pac-12?
That too.
To make 8 teams because they need 2 more teams to be an actual like an actual conference. In 2026 when the other Mountain West teams are going. There's a bunch of other teams I could see.
UNLV I could see joining.
UNLV. San Jose State could make that jump.
I saw Tulane and Memphis being mentioned for the Pac-12 as well. Yikes for that. I mean, we're already at that point anyway. Might as well keep it going.
UNLV
right?
probably would.
Tulane and Memphis for the Pac-12?
No, they're not. The 4 teams that are.
I think it'll be UNLV and another team because UNLV you get the Vegas market.
The 4 teams that are.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
The 4 teams
they
officially
play in Allegiant Stadium, don't they?
They do play.
Yep.
Well, some. Yeah. No.
They
They do play in Allegiant Stadium. Yeah.
They don't have an actual field.
They did. They used to.
They used to, but now they play.
Speaking of teams that play in NFL stadiums, why do the Miami Hurricanes play in Hard
We
Rock?
don't even need to get into that with Miami right now.
That's so terrible. That's like, yeah.
They deserve.
Because it's not a football city. It's not a football town. That's why.
Yeah. It's Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State, and who's the other one I'm thinking?
What other states are there that we can?
It is
put in
another
that
state.
San Diego.
It's San Diego
San
State.
Diego State. San Diego.
There we go. All right.
Go Friars, baby.
This man is a Padres fan. It's crazy. We don't even need to talk about baseball. Let's get into our football
Actually,
picks
it's
here.
getting close to winning.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Let's
Well,
get into
yeah,
our.
we gotta kind of hurry.
Let's get into our football picks here. Starting off here, week 3 of college football. First matchup of the day.
Good one.
Great day. Great matchup. Friday night, 8 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. You got ranked Big 12 matchup between Arizona and Kansas State, number 20 versus number 14. I'm going to start it off here. I am a big fan of this Arizona offense. I forget how you say the wide receiver's name. Tetroya McMillan or something like that. I'm butchering his
You're
name here.
close. Yeah.
And Noah Fifita. I am a big fan of the Wildcats. Give me Arizona on the road in Manhattan to upset Kansas State and Avery Johnson.
Yeah. Nobody comes to Manhattan and Kansas and leaves alive. Give me the Wildcats. I love Avery Johnson. I love this offense. I think that Kansas State's going to make a run to win the Big 12 this year. So, yeah, give me the Cats.
Andrew.
Absolutely. Give me the Wildcats as well. I mean, I like Johnson. I like this Wildcats team. I think, in my opinion, they are my favorite to win the Pac-12, or not the Pac-12, the Big 12, if the Utah can't get off the ground and continue to play the way they are. But I like Kansas State.
It's crazy because this is a battle of Wildcats. That just hit my brain. That's nuts.
Oh,
anyway,
Oh, yeah.
Alan.
I didn't realize that.
Alan, your go.
Well, I love this team. I do think that they could have a decent season, so give me K-State. I chose them earlier, and, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is probably one of the better matchups of this week on paper, ranked-wise. I mean, it is one of the few ranked matchups we have. Moving on to our next matchup here, how about the Fighting Irish going on the road to West Lafayette? Notre Dame, Purdue, in a bounce-back week here for the Fighting Irish. Let's see what they can do. I'm a big fan of Hudson Card and boys in West Lafayette. I think Purdue is maybe a underdog in the Big Ten, but I think Notre Dame's just too good. Give me the Irish.
I have family that went to Purdue. Purdue's also my second favorite Big Ten team if Ohio State never existed. And they also have one of the best fight songs in the Big Ten. So, boiler up.
I like Purdue's jerseys. I also like Hudson Card, but I got to go with Notre Dame bouncing back this week. I think Marcus Freeman and the boys pull it out.
Alan.
I'm going with Notre Dame. The loss to NIU, it wasn't surprising because Notre Dame would lose to a school like that for some odd reason, but Purdue's just one of those teams you can't lose to.
Yep.
Moving on to the Civil War here. Oregon, number 9 ranked, going to Corvallis to play the Beavs. Oregon
Fighting
State.
Beavs.
That game is 3:30 on Fox Sports 1 as well.
Got a nice stadium.
Oregon, they've started off slow. I mean, this could be a massive trap game for them. Arch rival. I mean, we're talking about college football and the stories we could have here.
Hatred.
First year.
Hatred out in Oregon.
True hatred in the state of Oregon. You're talking, what a better story for Oregon State than to just beat the big boy, the big brother, in their first year in what's supposed to be a better conference on paper. Screw that. Give me the Ducks.
Yeah, I picked Oregon to win the national championship, so I feel like I have to pick them. I think this is a get right game for Oregon. Oregon State is not good. They lost a lot. Jonathan Smith, Aiden Childs. Oregon's gonna go in there. I think they're gonna win. They're gonna blow this team out. Give me the Ducks.
I think this, like you said, it could be a trap game, but I think this is a get right game, like you said. Give me the Ducks.
Quack, quack.
Alan.
Go Ducks. That's all I got.
Quack, quack,
All right.
quack.
Quack, quack.
Our next matchup of the game, maybe game of the week. Sneaky good game as we head to Columbia, Missouri, as we have 24th ranked Boston College. How about Phil Castellanos and company going down to Columbia to
O'Brien.
face off Brady Cook, Luther Burden, Theo Weiss Jr. and company in the Missouri Tigers. That game is on SEC Network at 12:45, a random time for a kickoff, by the
Yeah.
way. I'm a fan of Missouri. I'm a fan of that offense. Theo Weiss Jr. has actually been the best wide receiver on that team so far this year, way better than
Has
Luther
not been
Burden.
Luther Burden.
Luther Burden's 3rd in receiving yards on that team this year. Brady Cook's still cooking, like his last name would say. But, I don't know. There's something about Boston College I really am a fan of. Give me Phil Castellanos and
Wow.
the Eagles in an upset on the road in SEC country. Give me the Eagles that continue that trend. They're going to climb up the rankings.
Yeah, I No, I got to go with Eli Drinkwitz. I got to go with Brady Cook. I got to go with Luther Burden and the Mizzou Tigers. Boston College is a cool story, but they're going to get hammered here in Columbia, Missouri.
Mizzou has yet to give up a point this season, by the way, so this is a nice risk, I would say, on my end. Shout out.
I think if it's in, I think if Boston
yeah.
College plays at home, there's a good chance that they can, get a nice win. But I think this is a game that if you're going to take Boston College for real this year, this is a big win for Mizzou, and I think they need a quote-unquote statement win early on in the season. Give me the Tigers. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Alan.
Go Tigers. I mean, this Mizzou team, they to me look like a sneaky good team that could sneak into the college playoffs this year. So I'm expecting big things out of them.
All right. 2 more matchups here for college football. Second to last, we have big noon kickoff on Fox. Got the Alabama Crimson Tide coming up north to go to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. If this was 2012, my pick might be different. Sadly, Luke Fickell, you're still building a program up there on Madison. Give me the Tide. They're going to roll all over Wisconsin this Saturday.
Yeah, Wisconsin's looked rough to start the season. They were in a battle with Western Michigan to start the year, and Tyler Van Dyke looks iffy, and Luke Fickell is going to build this program right in Wisconsin, but it's they're not beating Alabama. Roll Tide.
I will say the one thing that Luke Fickell has to look out for: don't become the next Scott Frost at Nebraska. You had a small team that had some good success, was really good with Cincinnati. Now you're at a Big Ten team. Don't become the next Scott Frost. You better get Wisconsin right here soon. Let's go with the Roll Tide, baby.
Alan.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
All I got to say.
Roll Tide. That's all you got to
Roll
say.
Tide.
Our last game here for our college football picks is a sneaky rivalry, a rivalry that a lot of people don't know about outside the state of Ohio. You've got the Cincinnati Bearcats in the last game of this rivalry in its history, going to happen this weekend at Miami of Ohio. And Miami of Ohio might be the best team in the MAC, might be one of the best teams in the group of 5. Cincinnati, they are Power 4 now, and I think they're not the same team that they had with Sauce Gardner and company. Give me the Red Hawks to beat Cincinnati this weekend.
Yeah, the Battle for the Victory Bell. It's
Beautiful.
a great name, great trophy. I did not know this was the last time they'd be meeting. That's kind of sad. But that's what happens when you have conference realignment. I picked Miami of Ohio to make the playoffs as the 12 seed. They did lose to Northwestern early on, but they're going to beat Cincinnati. Go Red Hawks.
They're not going to make the playoffs because your Toledo Rockets are going to make the playoffs themselves, winning the MAC and going 13-0. But I will take them this week against Cincinnati.
Alan?
Wow, I guess I'm the only one. I chose Cincinnati to win this game. But, Cincinnati, they've been on the decline in recent years, and they probably still will be on the decline. But for some reason, I feel like Miami going into this will take another loss, which will keep them out of the playoffs. I'm not too high on Miami, but that's just me.
Real quickly, before we move on to our NFL picks, do you guys know where College Game Day is at this week? It's
South Carolina,
it's the
LSU.
Weirdest it's the weirdest game.
That's just called
Yeah.
College Game Days on ESPN Network. ESPN pays for who? SEC ball. That's what it is. Getting into these NFL picks here. First game we have Thursday night. Tonight. This game will already be done by the time this episode does air. We got Buffalo Bills, AFC matchup on the road, going down to the Dolphins. This game's a pretty hard one to pick, to be honest. What Buffalo?
Very tough teams.
Two of the best. The 2 best teams, I think, personally, in the AFC East. But I like the confidence that I see in the Dolphins. I'm gonna go with Miami at home. I feel like if this game was in Buffalo, this game would go different. But give me the Dolphins.
Don't win in cold weather.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Since this is being played in Miami, it's warm in Miami. Yeah, give me the Dolphins. I think both of these teams didn't have great performances in Week 1, but they both won at home. Josh Allen, man, he's gonna have to do a lot this season for this Bills team to make the playoffs. He's gonna have to do damn near everything by himself. because he had to win that game against the Cardinals. But I think Miami's more deeper. I think they have a better defense. They're more healthy. So, yeah, give me Miami.
I do think that the Miami does suck in the cold weather, and I think they learned from that loss against Kansas City, and they are looking to get that first round bye this year. They're looking to get the first seed because then you don't have to worry about playing in the cold weather.
Yep.
You get to play in Miami throughout the playoffs. I think they win this game starting out. I mean, I think the Bills are good, but I think the Cardinals kind of suck, and it kind of overshadowed how good or how bad. I think the Bills just aren't as good as maybe some people think they are. I think Dolphins take this one.
Yeah.
Alan.
I'm going with Miami. That Bills team, it was disappointing against the Cardinals. The Cardinals, they do suck, and they really should have won again. If they would have targeted Marvin a lot more, they probably would have beaten the Bills. And this Bills team without Stephon, it's weird because for me, it just didn't work. So I'm going to go with Miami.
Congrats to the Bills.
Can you imagine if like the Bills win tonight and they have a screenshot of this and they like post
No,
it
this,
on there?
yeah,
They're
this,
what's
this
it called? And
is
they're like,
hot-
oh,
hot takes.
We're gonna-
freezing cold takes.
They're like,
Yeah, we
so
should take
Because
everybody's
this is what happens when we pick NFL games. Whenever all of us pick the same team, normally the other team wins.
Yeah. So congratulations, Buffalo, on a resounding, obvious victory
good
for you.
dub. That's a good win.
As we move on to the next game here, as somebody's favorite team here hosts the reigning Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowl champions here.
This
We
is
got a
in
great.
Kansas City, by
Kansas
the way.
City.
This game is in Kansas City. Well, that makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah.
As it is
That's
Cincinnati at
That's
Kansas
okay.
City in what is it, Burrowhead, as they say?
Gahey Field at Burrowhead.
At Burrowhead.
You know, if they wouldn't have done all of that, honestly, I think we win that game. But like for a couple like years there, it was weird because everybody was talking trash, and anytime another team talked trash, the other team would win.
Yep.
And it just turned out that Cincinnati talked trash, and their stupid mayor, dude.
Well, salty
Who
to
did
tell
it?
you this because it's definitely not Burrowhead this year. Kansas City is going to steamroll the Bengals easily in this ball game. It is truly Arrowhead. Nothing good from Cincinnati is going to come out of this ball game. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm not picking against Patrick Mahomes at home. Give me Kansas City.
It's a get-right game for the Bengals, boys. Who day? You think I'm going to go
Wow.
against my boys? Are you kidding me? No.
You just crap talked them for like 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely, but there's a little thing called hope, boys, and that's all I'm about, all right? That's us in the Bengals, Cincinnati. I don't live there, but I got that Ohio pride, boy. Give me the Bengals.
Since he's in Kentucky, what do you mean?
Going to be more like the yeah, Cincinnati is in Kentucky. Yeah.
There's a river, okay, that divides them, okay?
More like the Bungles after this Sunday. So
Man,
They start
you're a
0-2
Browns
every year.
fan, dog.
trust me, we'll get to that game. Don't worry. Alan, you're next.
Sorry, Andrew. Keep hoping it's not going to happen this
As-
week. Kansas City's going to win. I mean,
As
I'm
if
not
we-
betting against Mahomes after that game against the Ravens.
Closet
I mean, to me, he was the best part of that offense. So I'm sorry, your defense won't be able to compete.
As the closet Chiefs fan, yet again picks Kansas City. As we
Yep.
So we're going to move on to our next matchup here. I believe this is the Sunday night game
Yep.
here. We got Caleb Williams and Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Y'all know how I feel about this game already. I don't even need to talk about it.
You were
You
higher
already
than a kite
know.
on the Texans.
I am very, very high on Houston. Give me the Texans all day. They're going to send them straight back to Chicago on a torn-up plane. It might not even land. Give me the Texans.
I'm going to say I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. Chicago's defense, if they play the way they
Okay,
did
Lee
against
Corso.
the Titans. Lee Corso.
He used to say that all the time. Closer than the experts think.
Closer than you think? No. But I think Houston's going to end up winning this game. I think Caleb Williams will have a better game than he did. I mean, he has to because he had a god-awful game his first week. But Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV will get it done, and the Texans will move to 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take the Texans as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears go in and then win, and then it changes a lot of things in the NFC, in my opinion, if they go in and win that game. But I think the Texans are kind of to the point, even just after a year of being good, where these are games that they should win and they will win. Give me the Texans.
Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with CJ Stroud. I
That's
mean,
the Bears.
he's just one of the
The
best.
Bears.
The Bears.
But CJ Stroud has proven to me to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I mean, this is just his second year, and I already think he'll be a top 5 quarterback by the time the end of the season comes. So, give me Houston.
Next matchup we have here as well, we got Anthony Richardson and company going up to Lambeau to play against Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers. For that sake alone, saying Malik Willis, Green Bay Packers, give me the Colts for this ball game. If Love was in the air, I would probably go a different way. But I got faith in Indianapolis, and they played really well against Houston last week. They easily could have won that ball game too.
So, Jordan Love hasn't been ruled officially out yet. If he plays, I pick Green Bay. But right now he's not playing. Give me the Colts. If it is Malik Willis, it's the Colts. If Jordan Love at 12:55 p.m. on Sunday says, "Oh yeah, I'm playing," yeah, it's the Packers. But for right now, Colts.
I'm gonna go Colts too, and Malik Willis is bad. Let's just be honest with ourselves. I mean, yes, like Jordan Love is good and all of that, but even then, I mean, I actually really have liked what Anthony Richardson has looked like. Deep shots are going to be few and far between, but when he does connect on them, man, that team is like, if he can become good in the underneath game, they're going to be a really dangerous team because that defense is good. And I actually thought that they should have won that game against the Texans, but give me Indy.
Allen.
Yeah, give me Indianapolis. If I'm the Packers, I
We
don't
just all
start
keep picking the same
Jordan
team.
Love.
All right, congrats to Green Bay and Malik Willis on becoming the second coming of another Hall of Famer.
What if Malik Willis becomes
No,
like
but I'm
Brock
just
Purdy?
saying.
That would be the most Packers thing ever.
The problem is, like,
Shout out
Jordan
Aaron.
Love. If you're a Packers fan, you're hoping Jordan Love doesn't play because you want him healthy for the end, like towards the middle of the season. You want a healthy Jordan Love. You don't want to risk him getting more injured. So I say, you know what? Start Malik Willis for a few weeks, take the hits, and make a wild card.
All right, well then, moving on to a game I don't want to talk about, as the Shannon Sharp-led Cleveland Browns are going to go down to Trevor Bank Field to take on middle-class man's Danny Dimes. This game I don't even want to talk about. Give me the London Jaguars in an easy win. Oh, you, Kevin. You, Kevin.
Good job, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin, that is
That's
so
right.
bad. I totally picked the Jaguars, too.
No, he didn't.
He did
No,
that
he
on
didn't.
purpose, Kevin.
He is a liar. That's right.
If you're not picking your own team, what are you doing?
Yeah,
man?
exactly.
Come
Kevin,
on.
I said
You are
Jaguars.
not picking- Jacksonville is not good.
Kevin, go to the I did not pick Cleveland in the Snapchat. Kevin is in studio. Shout out Kevin O'Corin. If you want to come here right now, I'll show up the evidence that I picked the Jaguars.
I know.
Me with my NFL picks right here. Jaguars.
This is Cleveland.
Oh,
This is what's going to happen
Logan's
every
trying to
week.
say- Logan's
It
trying to
doesn't
start
matter. It doesn't matter. He will
You know
always make
what?
sure I
You
pick
know what,
Cleveland.
Logan? You know what? I agree. The Cleveland Browns are going to go into Jacksonville, and they're going to smack some Florida man's ass.
Aw, harder than Shannon Sharp did on IG Live. Okay, all right. Yep, Andrew, please go.
Listen, man, you're a two-way crook, first off. That's crazy that you're going against your boys in Cleveland, even when they do suck. But I am going to go against your boys and take the Jags because this is a get-right. I'm not going to knuckle bump you, bro. I'm not. No respect here.
Kevin, change it
respect.
to Cleveland just so we can jinx it.
I'm going to go with the Jaguars because I simply think that this Jaguars team isn't going to be bad. And
I don't think
Miami,
so either, actually.
Miami is a team that they should have won against Miami. Like a lot of my week one picks are teams that should have won their first week games, and I think they're going to get right and get into a better position. Give me the Jags.
Congrats on winning the game.
I win the game regardless. The shout out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going with Jacksonville also because I mean,
No, you're
Cleveland.
not.
Because I'm going with Cleveland. I almost forgot my own pick. I guess that's how bad Cleveland is. Anyways,
No, Alan, you
Um,
did pick the
Cleveland-
Browns on Snapchat.
You did pick the
Pick the
Browns on
Browns.
Snapchat, yeah.
I almost forgot. All right, I'm sorry. My bad. Anyways, it's because the Browns suck, and you
Kevin
know
just
what?
wants to go home.
You know, hey, Kevin,
fine.
can you just change Andrews to Cleveland real quick so I'm automatically right?
Just put Cleveland in there. Just so that way we can, you
All right,
know.
let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. All right. Last game.
The real game, I guess, of the week, as some people around here
Yeah,
would say.
the good
Yeah.
one.
Tampa Bay on the road, up in Ford Field, taking on, I think, the best team in the NFC easily, without a shadow of a doubt, the Detroit Lions. How about this, folks? I'm going to go out here and say this on air or on this podcast. The Detroit Lions are going to be the first team since the 2007 Patriots, and they're going to go 16, make that 17-0 in the regular season. Give me Detroit in an absolute landslide. Baker, poor decision maker.
I hate you so much.
All right, Spencer, it's your pick.
I hope Cleveland gets obliterated. Give me the Lions. Go Lions.
I mean, yeah, I actually almost picked Tampa Bay because I think Tampa Bay is a pretty darn good team.
They are.
But they will fall to the hands of the second best team in the NFC this weekend. It will be the Lions coming out.
First best, by the way. Alan, your pick as well.
Well, congrats to Tampa Bay because I was picking the Lions too. So.
Oh,
Let's
man.
go. All right. Well, this has been one long episode for you folks here. If you're somehow still here to as we wrap it up, congratulations on you. Congrats. That is a wrap on this episode from the Ball and Beats podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. We'll be back next week with another episode. Take care, y'all. Signing off. We'll see y'all next week.